WLWT is staying on top of breaking news this afternoon after an 11-year-old boy was shot and killed in the West End in a shooting Friday night that injured 5 others. City officials are holding a press conference this afternoon to provide an update. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. It's been a very difficult and tragic weekend here in Cincinnati. On Friday night, the West End community was shaken to its core by a sickening, unacceptable tragedy. In a vibrant neighborhood, right next to a local park, just a walk from a historic elementary school, 6 residents were shot. 5 of the victims were children. An 11-year-old boy was killed. And one of the other 5 victims remains in treatment at a local hospital. This community, a community full of life and energy, is now forever changed. Since the shooting, we spent time with residents in the neighborhood, the city manager and I and the chief yesterday and today, and the overwhelming message that we have heard is one of unimaginable trauma. Almost every door we knocked had children living in the home. The West End is a community of families, of young kids. Children who grew up with and went to school with the victim, who call the same streets parks and home. And families who have experienced firsthand the kind of shock and loss that never leaves you. Folks didn't feel safe leaving their home yesterday and this morning. They were shouting messages of love and support to each other through open windows, but they were too wary to go outside. They were feeling shattered by the reality that a child whose only concern in life should be playing and learning and growing could be taken from us because a deadly weapon was on their community streets. But even in this tragedy, the West End embodies love and hope and grace. To everyone grappling with the trauma of this tragedy, we are here for you now, and we will continue to be here for you. I can't express emphatically enough my appreciation for everyone who stepped up immediately to support those in crisis, to provide resources and support to the families and children growing through this. Our first responders, including and especially our firefighters, our police officers, our homicide detectives who have basically not stopped and not slept since Friday night. These are the folks who are always there, always, day and night when our communities are going through the worst of it. They have the eternal gratitude of myself and our community leaders for once again serving with determination and dignity through these horrifying events. And I have the utmost confidence that justice will be delivered. To the members of our administration and the community partners who have come together to build a comprehensive plan for community support, to the council members who have immediately stepped up into action, I want to reiterate how overwhelmingly thankful I am that we have a team who will stop at nothing to be there for the West End, however that we can. "22 rounds were fired. 22 rounds in a moment into a crowd of kids. No time to respond, no time to react. That is the reality that these kids had to live through, and the reality and the trauma that they will have to deal with for the rest of their lives. This is a moment where each of us has to be all in. And I assure you that we will be right now and into the future until we put a stop to this senseless, unacceptable violence. I'll now bring up City Manager Sherlong to discuss what's next.
Good afternoon. Like the mayor, I'm heartbroken and appalled at the violence we're experiencing this weekend. Frankly, I've never seen anything like it. While no one expected to see the news that broke on Friday night, I want to stress something. This is not an act of God. This is not a natural disaster. The devastation, the harm, and the loss of life are a shock to us all. But they stem from actions of real people, and they enabled by access to guns. As city manager, I will work tirelessly with CPD and all the community partners to bring the perpetrators to justice. But even as I make this promise, I recognize that it's not enough. Violence like this cannot be our status quo. It cannot be tolerated in the city of Cincinnati. I want to thank all of the police officers and first responders who were on the scene on Friday night and who have been working diligently on this case. We often talk about the physical danger that officers face in the line of duty, but I want to recognize the emotional and mental health toll that responding to a crime like this can have. To all of our officers, my administration is here for you, and the stress and anguish that you feel is just as valid as any physical harm that threatens your well-being. Our entire city is grieving the injury and life lost in the West End. We are bewildered, furious, and heartbroken that children of Cincinnati are not safe from deadly use of guns. I myself have lost a family member to gun violence. And the horror of a life taken so quickly is something I will never truly comprehend. We will continue to swiftly react to violence, and we will redouble our efforts to prevent its root cause. Our comprehensive approach to public safety relies on data-driven decision-making, interventions that target violence without exaggerating it, and work directly with community to make our neighborhoods safe. In the West End, which is seeing disproportionately high levels of gun violence, we know that tragic outcomes stem from much more complex quality of life issues. Our pivot public safety approach, which uses fast-paced interventions to disrupt violence, has been used to curb shootings in OTR, the West End, and other target areas in the city. The collaborative pivot team meets bi-weekly to work on proactive solutions to reduce violence. Their next meeting is at Lincoln Rec Center this Wednesday at 10 a.m. I invite anyone to attend who wants to help or to learn more about the city's effort to combat violence. The city has active interventions already deployed. Our approach in the West End includes several months of investigation into a concentrated area of crime of Livingston and John Street, which resulted in the filing of a public nuisance action against a liquor store that was later closed. Our CPD officers also partnered with representatives from the community builders to conduct an assessment of the neighborhood focused on environmental design and physical changes that can be made to reduce violence. And recognizing that the area has experienced repeated shootings, CPD has allocated overtime to increase police officer visibility and responsiveness about regular staffing levels. To bolster these efforts and directly respond to the horrific events on Friday evening, we have assembled a team of social workers and community partners to provide support to West End residents. Deeply involved and key to this strategy will be Karen Rumsey and our amazing victim service team at CPD. They will be going door to door in the West End in partnership with the property ownership group at City West to get help to any and all residents who need it. The young people affected by the senseless violence is a priority. Our working group will also be in schools on Monday, including Hayes Porter Elementary, Taft High School, and CCPA, as well as Lincoln Rec Center. Exposure to violence is unthinkable cruelty to inflict on young people. And when kids lose their lives to senseless killings, we need to embrace our children with every mental health resource we have available. Our partners in these efforts include Howard House, the Community Builders, Cincinnati Recreation Commission, and Cincinnati Public Schools. I want to extend an enormous thanks to each of these partners for their dedication to community collaboration, because this is not going to happen just with the city at the table. It is going to take collaboration. I also want to recognize the incredible work of the city's Human Services team, Director Deanna White, Brooke Lipscomb, and the support from Assistant City Manager Virginia Talent. We need decisive actions like these in the wake of tragedy, but reacting to the problem will never solve it. We need to be proactive. We need to be vigilant, and we need to be collaborative. And we need your help. Again, we've been saying this over and over and over again. If you have a gun, you need to store it safely. You need to store it safely. That is your responsibility. CPD will give you a gun lock for free. So there's no excuse. The gun violence problem starts with guns themselves. If you own a firearm, it's your responsibility to keep it out of the wrong hands, because this is what happens. Finally, I want to remind everyone watching and listening that violence does not define us. Cincinnati is welcoming, Cincinnati is vibrant, and Cincinnati is stronger than when we work together. Tragic events like this shock us. They make us angry and dismayed, but they also push us toward action. Please take a stand to stop the killing. If you own a gun, lock it up. If you know where the guns are, tell Cincinnati Police Department. If you have ideas, if you have solutions, like we've been doing, we want to hear from you. We can solve this problem if we work together. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Long, and now an update on the investigation. Chief of Police Teresa Theju.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. I've stood here at this podium before many of you on numerous occasions. None of them, in my opinion, are as significant as what we're going to talk about today. The facts that I'm going to give you should be extremely shocking to anybody's conscience. If they're not, there's something wrong. I don't care how far or near you live from the West End community, you should be appalled at what happened Friday night. Now for the facts of the incident. On November 3rd, at approximately 9:30 p.m., District 1 officers responded to the 700 block of Bent Drive for the report of several people shot. When the officers arrived, they located 6 shooting victims. 6 shooting victims. 3 of the victims were transported to Children's Hospital Medical Center. 2 of the victims were transported to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. And 1 victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. As for our last update, only 1 shooting victim remains hospitalized, and they are currently in stable condition. The deceased victim was a black male, 11 years old, and was a West End resident. The preliminary investigation indicates the victims were near the intersection of Jones Street and Bent Drive when an occupant of a dark sedan fired 22 rounds in quick succession. The incident was captured on our ShotSpotter technology. The surviving victims, a male black 12, a male black 13, a male black 15, a female black 15, and a female black 53. 2 of these juveniles attended Cincinnati College Preparatory Academy, including the deceased. 3 of the juveniles attended Cincinnati Public Schools. A couple of things I want to say beyond the facts of the incident. My sincere gratitude goes to the medical professionals at the University Hospital and Children's Hospital. I don't think we realize here in Cincinnati the talent at those hospitals that help these individuals survive. So thank you to the medical professionals. Thank you very much to Cincinnati Fire Department, also first responders on the scene with our officers, and what they had to see and deal with, they will carry with them for the rest of their careers. To the men and women of the Cincinnati Police Department, my gratitude is beyond words for what you handled that night. When I arrived on the scene, the men and women of Cincinnati Police Department were doing their job flawlessly. Nobody had to be told what to do. They jumped into action immediately, and I am extremely grateful for that. To our homicide unit, as the mayor stated, since Friday evening, they have been working endlessly on this case. They will not stop until they solve this case. I know how they are, and I admire their dedication. My closing comment is to the person or persons responsible for this violent act. Turn yourself in. Turn yourself in. Call a loved one. Have them turn you in. Because if you don't, we will find you and we will bring you to justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And now we are honored by the presence of the deceased victim's family. Isaac Davis, victim's father, is here. Lakeisha McFarland, the victim's mother. Diane Jones, the grandmother. And Kashia Tucker, a loved one. We'll ask Mr. Davis to provide a brief remark.
When would this stop? Would this ever stop? Like, how many people have to bury their kids, their babies, their loved ones? Like, look at his mother. Look at me. I mean, you're not gonna realize it until something happens to your family, until it happens to you. I'm just asking anybody that know anything to come forward, please. Just please come forward. We're begging. I don't know what else to say, but just please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take questions, we'll excuse the family. With that, we'll take any questions.
Any possible leads at this point as to who these people responsible could be?
I spoke with the homicide unit a little bit before this press conference. Tips and leads are coming in. They will follow up on each and every one of them. But at this point in the investigation, we are not going to discuss where we're headed with the investigation.
Was this picked up by any cameras?
Again, we're not going to get into any details of the investigation. That's all critical types of evidence that the homicide investigators will take a look at.
Is there any threat to that area where the shooting happened? I know yesterday there was a news release and shortly before it happened, people were running and scattering. Is there any threat that people should be worried about?
There are no current threats that we are aware of. We will work with all of the community leaders to help them in restoring a sense of calm in the West End to the best that we can while this person is still out. So their safety is paramount to us, to city leaders, to police department members, and so we will work with them to make sure that the community feels safe.
what sort of comfort can you provide families in the short term, you know, who are terrified to have their kids outside playing on the sidewalk?
It's an important question. I'm the father of a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And when the city manager and I were going door to door in the neighborhood where it happened, that's exactly what we heard. The parents and the kids themselves who we talk to don't feel safe, and I frankly can't blame them. They were a group of kids playing outside of their house when a madman came by and fired 22 rounds into a group of kids. My message to them, however, is that myself, the city manager, the chief of police, our entire Cincinnati Police Department force, which is the best in the world, will not stop until we find this person and bring them to justice. At the same time, equally as important to us is making sure that those West End residents and neighbors and kids understand that we are here and we are not going anywhere. As the city manager announced, tomorrow at 11 a.m., the city is deploying mental health wraparound services to any and all who need it. We're coordinating with Hayes Porter and CCPA and Taft, the schools in the area, because so many children knew of and played with the victim. The trauma that we are now forced as a community to deal with does not go away. The shooting may be over, but the trauma is still there, and part of that trauma is not feeling safe in their homes. It's going to take some time for us and for the community to do the work necessary to heal the wounds that we cannot see. And all I can say to them is that I am not going anywhere. I will be there for them, the city manager, the chief of police, and the full support of the city for as long as it takes.
With this most recent shooting, you know, we're now at a level of shootings targeting teenagers specifically that we haven't seen in more than a decade.
That's right.
You know, can you speak to, you know, the violence that is targeting these young people and what needs to be done about it?
The chief of police was briefing us on the numbers. We do a briefing every week, but before the press conference we did another briefing. And what is really notable is that because of this increase in violence amongst our children, which is not unique to Cincinnati, but is countrywide at this moment, we have now had to start tracking homicides amongst kids. And the numbers are terrifying, and they are completely unacceptable. We know what is the most frustrating is we know the causes of the violence, particularly amongst kids, and it is access to guns. 40% of the illegal weapons on Cincinnati streets come from cars, being stolen from cars. That's why the city manager continues to reiterate, if you are a gun owner, to lock up your gun and to make sure that it doesn't get into the wrong hands that leads to this kind of tragedy. Other than the universal accessibility of guns in our community, the inability to resolve differences peacefully continues to challenge us. We see headline after headline of someone knocking on the wrong door and getting shot, someone getting into a road rage incident and getting shot. The inclination to reach for deadly force immediately, no matter how small the incident is overwhelming. The gun violence we are seeing is no longer concentrated in one neighborhood or concentrated around the drug trade. Because of the universal accessibility of guns, it is everywhere, particularly amongst our kids. From City Hall's perspective, we've done everything that we can from an accessibility of guns point of view to make sure that we prevent criminals from getting their hands on guns. But we need to continue to ask for and expect partnership at the federal and state level as well. I refuse to accept that this is the new reality. I refuse to accept that the rights of others are more important than the lives of our kids in Cincinnati. this is going to require a comprehensive approach and change. And we are prayerful that our partners at other levels of government will be in this fight with us.
What will this increased police visibility look like? Are we talking just extra patrols driving down the street or anything beyond that?
Yes, so we will be convening as a leadership team of the Cincinnati Police Department and discussing resources needed to, again, create a sense of safety in the West End for the communities. That will include uniform presence as well as non-uniform presence. We have cameras, we watch the cameras, we have other types of technology. It will be a comprehensive approach.
Any final questions?
Can you speak to the level of gun violence, particularly in the West End? I know the city manager said they're facing a disproportionate level.
So when we are a data-driven organization, we are a data-driven police force, and the data year to date from a shooting perspective is optimistic. However, importantly, particularly in the wake of this tragedy, the West End specifically has seen very recently tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And so there is no doubt that City Council, the administration, CPD, the mayor's office, we are all focused on the West End and making sure that the violence that the residents there have experienced very recently, not just this shooting, but previous incidents of violence, that we prevent that from happening in the future, using all the resources to bring to bear to support the West End for crime prevention, but also making sure that the real trauma that they are experiencing is also prioritized and dealt with. The strategies that we employ to interrupt the violence has worked and continues to work in other parts of the city. We are confident that the strategies that we have invested in are the right strategies. Obviously, the West End is our priority, and obviously, it is our priority to stop the violence.
We've seen the number of people hurt or killed in drive-by shootings this year is significantly higher than what we saw last year. How do you crack down specifically when it comes to drive-bys?
Yeah. The drive-by shootings are a confluence of two national trends that are affecting Cincinnati, but also affecting other parts of the country. Kia and Hyundai were particularly susceptible to break-ins and car thefts. That fact coinciding with, as I've mentioned, the universal accessibility of guns has created a very dangerous situation. CPD has deployed strategies in order to address that, but you're absolutely right. These kinds of incidents are absolutely happening in our city, and they're absolutely unacceptable. I'll let the chief talk about any specific strategies.
Yes, so to the mayor's point, we have seen, like everywhere else in the country, a real problem with thefts of Kia and Hyundais. And we have also seen those thefts of those cars associated with violent crime in our communities. That being said, I think an important fact to understand is the vehicle is just the mode of transportation for somebody to shoot somebody. We've seen them be on foot and fire a firearm and shoot somebody. We've seen them on bicycles. So the fact that they are in a vehicle does not change the way we approach the investigation to each and every shooting. It's simply a mode of transportation that they find convenient. And so we also try to interrupt that.
One more question?
I don't know if this was random or targeted at all. Are you able to?
Again, too soon to tell in the investigation.
Thank you for your time, everyone.